to Damsels in Dialogue, a podcast dedicated to female protagonists in fiction, film, and the stage, co-hosted by India Marie Paul
and Katie Zutter. For our 4th season, we take a deep dive into the leading ladies of the Golden Age musicals and discuss just how well these Hollywood and Broadway characters have aged.
This week, we jump into the zany fairy tale adaptation and fall in love with a girl named Fred in Once Upon a Mattress.
Welcome to this episode. We were talking about Once Upon a Mattress.
Woo woo.
We're excited to see you here. This might possibly be the most absurd one that we're discussing. But I feel like all of them have a little bit of like sustenance to them, a little bit of like meat and bones to dig into, even though they're ridiculous. And this one is truly just funny. Now, there are some really cool things that it did, but this you are coming to see this show for laughs. You are not coming to learn things.
Yeah. I went in with that expectation and didn't disappoint because I don't know this show very well. I know of it. Like I had to sing Shy in like vocal class, but like but I didn't really know it. So I was really excited to listen to it and watch some of these TV adaptations. And
it's a blast. And this one I have been in. I was in middle school. So
nice.
Long story short, we were too small of a school to do a musical by ourselves, the whole school. The high school couldn't do by themselves. So, and even when you add the middle school, they also couldn't do by themselves because there wasn't enough people. So we would alternate where there were the two bigger schools, Hancock and Houghton, would do middle school and high school together. Of the two schools would do a smaller show.
Yep.
And then on the other years, it would be an all school. So any school in the area would come together and then we could do like a big one. So like one of our big ones, it was Once Upon a Mattress we did because it's
perfect.
This is a great one for high school. And they comment on that too.
Yeah.
It's a great one for high school. It's a great one for community theater. There are so many characters. There are so many characters.
So many.
The cast, the chorus does a ton. There's big dance. There's multiple big dance numbers. Yep. So it's just like fun to do. It has a lot of flexibility to it, and because there isn't like the crazy deeper meaning, you don't
have to spend time on it.
No, you truly don't. Like you could just like truly jump to let's just have fun with it as opposed to like, what is the deeper meaning of this scene that you're trying to get? You know what I mean? Like it's a little more just you can truly have fun and still like put together a really fantastic show that everyone will like.
Yep.
But back to the original story. Yes. So this has started from a Hans Christian Andersen fairy tale, The Princess and the Pea, titled the same thing. This is definitely the hardcore camp version of that. Princess and the Pea. It's very simple, very short. So just to briefly explain it, we have the prince actually wants to get married and he's like kind of weird about, will I get the right one? So he kind of starts it. And then mom jumps in and is like, I'm going to help you find the right person. And she also questions the validity of this woman who just shows up and does the whole put a pea underneath all these mattresses to trick her. And she can't sleep throughout the night. She wakes up and has bruises all down her back because she could not sleep because it's a fairy tale. And of course things are going to be like weird and morbid and painful for no reason. Yes. She woke up with bruises all up in her back.
Okay.
Yeah. And then they're like, great, they can get married. And we'll put this pea in a museum if it's still there, if it hasn't been stolen. That's that. It's very short.
Wait a minute. Wait, so she actually felt the pee in the original story?
She feels it in this one too.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. But like, there's no like gag. Right. Like, it's just like No, this is like legitimately. She has like she's bruised all down her back and stuff. Solid. Okay.
Yeah. Wow.
No more questions.
Yeah, it's like super weird. Yeah, that's like the really like short rendition without having to like read it all to you. So they definitely took this story and was like, what if we made fun of this and added so much plot? There's so much more schmutz to this than just that one little story. And what I think is cool, the music is written by a woman, which I don't think we've had a whole lot of women writers.
We've had a woman book writer in Kiss Me Kate.
Yep, with her and her husband wrote that.
We had Gentlemen Prefer Blonde original novel.
But that's not the musical.
And Broadway, she wrote book.
She wrote Broadway, book for Broadway.
Yeah, but not music.
Yeah, so we have another woman to the list, and I think you can tell the music was written by a woman really well. There are a lot of female numbers because the cast is pretty well rounded as far as main characters. There are a lot of men, there are a lot of women, but even though there are more in its original state men, Can a lot of those characters be played by women? Yes, of course. There is no need for their gender to be a certain way.
Yeah.
Especially because you have things like the minstrel, the jester. They have very generic, just like castle and court names.
Yeah.
Like when we did it, the minstrel was a girl.
That's really cool.
Because why not? Like,
why not?
So we still put her in like the fun like pants, like with the leggings.
Oh yeah,
and, like,
I mean full minstrel.
Like, it was super fun. Yeah, there's still like a little more men than women, but there were significantly more female songs.
Yeah. Yeah.
There are a lot of female songs, a lot of group numbers, things like that. There are obviously the minstrel sings a lot because he's the minstrel. But like one of the male characters, the king, like can't speak for like 99% of the show.
Yep.
So like he doesn't get any songs.
Yep.
So it's interesting that it is arguably more balanced in the women's favor than previous shows we've talked about.
Yeah.
There are also multiple conversations between women. A lot of them in void. I don't know really. We're gonna have to like fine tooth comb it because the premise is about like finding a husband.
Yeah,
so
there's a lot
I don't know
of
if it
talk.
passes the Bechdel test, but there are a lot of conversations between women that men are not even in the room for.
True.
Or it's a man who cannot speak.
Yeah.
It's Dauntless who sometimes just does not understand what is happening, and they're like, "Let's talk with women during this conversation."
Well,
that's kind of interesting.
Winnifred has a song "Swamps of Home," right? Which has nothing to do with guys.
True. Dauntless is in the room.
But she's talking to the other women too, right?
Yes, she is talking to everybody there. So there's a man there.
Yeah.
But she is telling everybody her swamps of home. Yes.
Okay.
So that might, depending on the rules of the Bechdel.
Yeah. Like how private versus like public.
Yeah. Like does a boy need to be involved? Because he's not really there. They're all kind of listening and singing along and listening.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It might pass the Bechdel test, which is interesting because I don't think any of these, just because the plot, not in a bad way. It's just the plot of a lot of musicals are like love. So
relationships.
Right. Which we're not mad about. But
no, I mean, especially in this era. Like this era is all about the relationships.
Right. So like it was kind of refreshing to be like, oh, Music Written by Mary. Does it pass the Bechdel test? Possibly. Don't know. Maybe not, but maybe. That is an excellent point. The lyrics by Marshall Bear and the book by J. Thompson, Dean Fuller, and Marshall Bear. So that was the original. It moved very fast. Like it opened off Broadway in 1958, and then like a year later moved to Broadway, and then a year later was off Broadway and touring. Like it was all very fast. And when it started, it had super mixed reviews. People didn't know whether to like it or hate it. Like critics were like, I don't know how to feel, which is probably why it didn't last super, super long on Broadway. Yeah. Because it's really like it's critics.
Zany.
It's so zany. It's so camp. And like, how does a critic who has just like, we'll take this podcast, for example, you're deep diving into like Nazi Germany.
Yeah.
With a young woman who is changing the lives of a family.
Yeah. And being like, I'm in love with a girl named Fred.
What? And like jump to like this woman who's on my mouth. Like, are you kidding me? So it's like, I can imagine people being confused. Yeah. But what's so interesting to me is this show, much to the surprise of critics and the actors, became like kind of a cult classic.
I could see that,
Like it's kind of like the audience who loves it. And it's done regularly. It got a Broadway revival. It got 3 movies. It did. It is not messing around. So that's kind of funny to me that they were like, we don't know how to feel about it, but why is it so popular? Why people like it so much? And like you said, Shy and other songs from it are put into people's books and our standards and things. And you're like, this absurd song is from what?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's kind of funny to me how it popped off way more than anyone really anticipated it happening.
Well, it was written, so it was composed by Mary Rodgers, who is the daughter of Richard Rodgers of Rodgers and Hammerstein, correct? And she was only 28, I think I looked up, when it hit Broadway.
It's wild.
Like, that's insane.
Also, fun fact, when it hit Broadway, before I get to my fun fact, we had Prince Dauntless, Joseph Bova, Queen Aggravain, Jane White, and many others. But the Princess Winnifred was led by Carol Brunett, and this was her Broadway debut. Was originating this role. And then she left pretty shortly after, and she was replaced.
Yeah.
But not in a bad way. She just
like contract done.
Blew up. Because only a couple years later, she was nominated for a Tony, also for a Theatre World Award. And she won that one. What's wild to me is she also, when she went to play, she was asked back for the 2 movies.
Yes.
As Winnifred. So she's now played this character 3 times in like different iterations.
Yes.
The actress who played her in the 2005 movie was born the year Carol Brunett opened as Princess Winnifred.
I love that so much.
Isn't that crazy?
That's like, yeah, she's been a part of this show
for so long. Like it's so
cool. Like almost 5 decades.
Yes. Like that is so wild. And I can't really talk about that more, but obviously, if we're going into just like diving into her character a bit, which going all over the place just because it's so funny. It's okay, yeah. But I do like the women in this. I do like the women. I like them. I kind of like everybody. They're all really well rounded. There's nobody that gives me like the ick. This show also very easily can be put in modern time. I think the show itself aged very well. Yeah. There isn't like wild racism that you needed to like cover up or like wild sexism that you needed to cover up.
Well, like, any misogyny is like campy. It's very like making fun of it. Yeah. It's very like, I'm supposed to do this and you're like it.
Right. Like even at the end when he's like, no, I can boss you around. It's like kind of funny.
Yeah,
like you're not like mad about it.
It's all camp. It's all making fun of gender norms because Winnifred is like the opposite, like so like it's all making fun of it all.
Yeah, so I think it ages really well, and you don't really need to modify it a whole ton.
No,
for it, which is also
I don't think
great
so.
As well. So that kind of helps its lifespan, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Gosh, before I get in her again. But also something I also enjoy about the show is that it's so easy to cut down.
I noticed
because
that.
Each movie,
they're
so different. They cut them down in different ways, but nothing is lost. You're not like, oh, darn, this didn't happen. It all still makes sense. Like there's a bummer where like the minstrel's cut from some things and then there's different characters where they're trimmed down, but it's not like some of these other musical adaptations that we've talked about where it's like, wow, this like major plot point is missing. Or on the flip side, you're like, why is this movie so long? Sound of Music. Did we need to include everything?
Yeah.
It wasn't, do we need to add a whole new song for this? It's kind of that sweet spot of it can be altered so easily. Like it is just a very, I don't know if it just like happened to come, like be made this way or if this was intentional. Yeah. But I completely understand why like 40, 50 years later, they're like, oh yeah, let's put this on TV for a movie again. Like, great.
Yeah. No, I was going to mention like the fact that like, so I watched the 1964. It was only like an hour and 18 minutes. And then I watched the 2005, which was like, what, an hour 40 or something? Like,
I think less.
Maybe, yeah, it might have been like 130. Yeah. And like they cut out very different things in both of these adaptations. But as like, it's so fluffy that trimming it just narrows it. It doesn't like ruin anything.
You don't miss anything. You're not like confused. You're not like, oh no, where was this? Because it's just a fun time.
Which is fascinating because there is so much convoluted plot for no reason. Like
there is so much convoluted plot. There are so many like when you look at these characters and look up like the original like cast and stuff, it's like you look at a list and you're like, oh, here is these 2-3 main characters, the couple side characters. Yeah. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 characters that all have like the wizard, the minstrel, the jester, sextimus, Harry. They all have outside of like Winnifred and Aggravain, all have like the same amount of stage time.
Yeah. Like it's just a lot of like it was built to be like, let's have a group of people on stage.
We're all like, having a blast, you know? Like, it's wild. And something I really enjoy about the show with the women and a lot of these things is like you had mentioned earlier, a lot of the gender norms and a lot of the norms are flipped. So in a very clever way, in a very fun way, without making light of things, without mocking things. Yeah. Because never at any point are you like, oh, Princess Winnifred is like a laughing stock to leading ladies. She's not. She definitely is a leading lady in her right. But you have your main princess character as who would normally be the Ado Annie. Yeah. And you have Lady Larkin, who arguably the actors who would play that like would be more likely to be the ingenue. And that would be the main character. So for those to be flipped and for Lady Larkin to not be Like none of them, they're all like have kind of depth to them for being absurd. Like they're not just flat characters. They're all absurd, but they're not just flat. Like you have just on like a quick drive by without going, we'll deep dive into them. But you have like just of those three, you have Princess Winnifred, who wants to get married. She lives in a swamp. She tries to learn all these things because she's like, she likes Dauntless. Like that's, it's not just like I have one motivation and I'm super flat.
Yeah.
Is she a deep character? No. But she has layers to her, right? And she has thoughts and thinks and has motivation and she has a lot of agency.
Yes.
Queen Aggravain has the most agency in the entire show.
Oh, she does what she wants.
She wants.
Yeah.
And you have these levels to her as well, where it's like she is power hungry, but she also like very much loves her boy and like truly thinks he's a child still. Like truly.
Well, she is like such a great caricature of the stock, like overbearing mom who can't let go. Like she just like hysterical. You will never find anyone as good for you as me. Like very like just but that to the extreme.
In a weird and not in a weird sexual way.
No. It's
always funny. It's
to the extreme.
Like,
but it's not mocking her. Like she's not a laughing stock. She's just like this weirdly relatable.
It's hysterical. Like, you know, so she's also, once again, does she grow and change? And absolutely not. No. But there's levels to her. It's not just a flat, like, I am the villain. Okay, cool. But you have levels to you. And same with Lady Larkin. She could just be the ingenue and be no brains, only pretty. And she is not. She kind of like helps head this brigade to help save the day. And then also with her thoughts of, she argues with her boyfriend, Harry.
Yep.
Like a lot. And is like, I'm gonna leave you because like, this is wild. Like she also has agency and stuff and is not just the pretty ingenue who can be whisked away by the handsome knight. So at face value, they have a little bit more depth to them.
I think they have way more depth to them.
Isn't that wild? But they're still fun. They're still wild and silly.
Oh, they're still like the whole thing is silly, but like they make things happen in the story.
Yes, which is so cool that all three of them, like arguably the entire main cast outside of maybe Dauntless, pushes things along.
Things happen to him. He changes. He grows.
Right. And even like look at how they are. They are named. You have, Princess Winnifred, Fred, Sir Harry, like handsome, whatever, Lady Larkin, Lady the Late Lark, like wild. But then you have King Sextimus, making fun of that.
Yep.
Making fun
100%.
Of how many times does this man bring up sex during this show?
Yep.
That he cannot speak of. A riot. Like too many times for this poor man who cannot speak. Has to bring up sex like 3 times during the show.
Yep.
like what? Queen Aggravain? Aggravated in vain? Are you kidding me? Hysterical. Like, and you're not mad at that. Like
no,
it's not like, oh, you're making fun of this woman because she's in power. Like, no, she has depth and she's wild.
Everything is done knowing fully well just how campy it is.
Yes.
It's fully aware of everything it's doing. It is not taking it. So I think that's the biggest thing that I have with if things are a little shallower or fluffy. If you don't take yourself seriously and are fluffy, it's always better.
Oh, yeah.
Like, if you are trying to be like, no, this is a deep, meaningful show, like, no, it's not.
Like, we're just here to have a good time.
That's okay. That is okay.
Yeah.
We need that too in the world.
Right. Why do we think that romance is the most popular books here? Like, book genre. Because we need the fluff.
We need the fluff.
We need it.
Yes.
So now to dive into these ladies.
Yes.
Oh gosh, now that I keep meaning to, and then I jump back and I'm like, but look at all these cool things that this did. So it's very, in short of all that fun stuff, this is a very modern show for it being written in the 50s.
It talks about sex. There's a baby out of wedlock.
Yeah.
Which is important, I think.
There's
to note.
Strong, independent women. Like almost all the main characters have actual agency and actually affect the plot.
Yep.
Like it's wild. It's great. Yep. It's a blast. I see why it's still done.
Yeah. I would argue that like Winnifred had to walk so that like Merida could run.
Oh, 1,000%.
Like the tomboy princess. Yeah.
For sure.
This is 59.
For sure.
Like this is peak Cinderella time.
Absolutely.
So
yeah, which is once another reason where they're like, their critics are like,
what? Yeah. Well, how do they like? How am I supposed to talk about this woman? Yeah. Like, I don't. You made the comedy the lead. I don't know what to do.
Like, and it's just so cool. And like, can you imagine going to a theater and seeing all this wildness and seeing the main character be, I guess let's just dive it. Let's just do the meat.
Yeah.
Let's just do Carol Brunett.
I love her so much.
It's just the introduction to this character. So not only have you've seen the other princesses, you've seen at least one. There's been 12. You see the 12th. You see her have to answer this absurd question that she cannot possibly answer. No one could possibly answer. It's insane. She's given a literal rubber chicken and told to get on her merry way. Like what? Who on earth? You have a lot of setup. You have a lot of setup for Winnifred.
Yep.
Before you meet her, with the cast and the different characters, and as you meet literally everyone else but her. So there's a high expectation, and the comedic timing, and I just think this is one of the funniest things that has been, like, it's so clever how this is written, where you have this massive buildup. You've had multiple songs. You've had all the characters have been introduced. You know the stakes of the show already. You know the plot. You know what's going to happen. You know everything, and then you meet her. That's a lot of buildup.
Yeah. Well,
and you meet her by her hand first.
Well, that's like that payoff. The payoff of like her not making a grand entrance, like the opposite of grand entrance.
And you're climbing over the wall, soaking wet,
and like. And the queen just saying like 10, but you swam the moat. Like 10,
she cannot get over it.
Yeah. Just like.
It's a riot. And the minstrel, he doesn't even take away from it when he has this whole thing. He sings this whole beautiful song. And he's like, oh yeah. Yeah. Like, they say it was like dark and stormy and rainy, and like, but it wasn't. It was the broad daylight, and she just looked like she had been through a storm.
Yep.
And you still watched her come over the castle and like peed yourself because you were laughing. Like, are you kidding me? And this character, as she comes up, and if you were to say, oh, princess ingenue character, we cast Carol Brunett. That's that bold choice, right? Bold choice.
Yeah.
But no, not for Winnifred, because her getting up there and watching her, because you can bootleg the original movies.
Yes.
So you can see Carol Brunett in the roles, which is really, really great, because we haven't been able to see a whole lot of that.
Yeah.
We haven't been able to see
like original
actors, which is really, really cool. That's not been as common. We've had that a little bit here, but not as much. So this was really cool to see her, and her just deadpan wide-eyed stare when she jumped into I'm Shy. I almost passed away. That was so funny.
It was so good. And like, I was thinking about like Carol Brunett as a actress, and like what she became. Like in the 50s in Broadway, you would not have cast her as a lead.
No.
And like this musical was the perfect chance.
This changed her life, I bet. This was it. This showed everyone what she could do and what she was meant to do. Yeah. Because her comedic timing in this is stunning. She is the perfect amount of endearing. You still like her. You get why Dauntless is like, wow, she's different. She's so fun. She's so cool. Yeah. But also she's like hella awkward and weird. But it's endearing. You love that.
Yeah, she's so confident in it. And I think that's like, I watched the Tracy Ullman 2005 first, and then I watched the 64, and I went, there's a reason that Carol Burnett did this multiple times. Like Tracy Ullman, great. I really liked her rendition.
Oh, yeah.
But like Carol Burnett's confidence in just being herself is
her timing was stunning. So good. And you could tell that something that she said too, actually, the woman who did the 2005 is luckily the actress who did this by Kate, she had not seen the show. She had not seen the show. Good. She had not heard of it. She had not sung it. And she was interviewed in like 2015, and they were like, were you nervous? Because like Carol Burnett's going to be like on the set with you.
Yeah.
Like, she's like an executive producer
with you.
Like, was that terrifying to do that? And she was like, no, because they met Carol Burnett. Carol Burnett walked right up to her and was like, make this your own. I can't wait to see it.
Oh, queen.
Like, make this your own.
I love her.
So there was never a, oh, well, I did it like this. Oh, well, never, because she's not like that. And I think that is so cool, because you do get different characters. And truly, I think this is what a lot of these characters is they give you just enough depth, just enough layers, but not a deep, powerful plot.
Yeah.
That you can truly make that character your own. You could see the show 17 times and it could be a different show.
So different. Like the line delivery, like Carol Burnett's deadpan and confidence versus Tracy Ullman's kind of like, hi guys, like more like peppy version of Winifred.
They're
like,
both fun.
Yeah. They're just completely different.
Right. And it's wild. So yeah, I think how Carol Burnett probably wasn't in the room. She was so young and so new and so fresh. And this was literally her first role on Broadway.
Yeah.
When they made it, I don't think she needed to be. I don't think any of them needed to be to make this role theirs.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the brilliance of the design of the show. Once again, we don't know if that's intentional or not.
Yeah.
But regardless, it's really, really cool. And you can see how she was a brilliant casting choice. Because as you go further, you got to have some chops because she sings a lot.
She sings a lot and she dances a lot
in this show. She dances a lot. There's a lot going on in this show.
Physical comedy, like, whew.
Right. There's a lot you have to do in this. And you do have to have some really good comedic chops, which a lot of the ingenues at the time wouldn't be able to do. Because that's not right. That's not their jam. That's, you know. And even Lady Larkin, you have to, like, she's over dramatizing too half the time, her things. So it's really cool. And I think how Carol Burnett at the time, when comparing to other shows, may have been a bold choice. Seeing it in person, no, this is it. It has to be that. It has to be that wild, that fun, and you really have to be endearing to the audience because you could very quickly make Winnifred not endearing. Yes. Because she is so quirky and weird. She sings an entire song about a swamp. Like,
if you're not on really, it's boring as heck.
It's going to be boring. It's not going to be entertaining. You're going to be confused why Dauntless likes you. Yeah. Like, So it's really cool that she really ran with that and made it her own.
Well, and I was thinking about this too with what stuck out with me with Carol Brunett is the physical comedy of it. Like the actual physical, because there's in this time period.
A lot of it's written as physical comedy too.
It's like it's built into the show. Like the boulder thing. Like there's lots of physical comedy.
But in this time period.
In this time period, being funny as a woman was witty and cracking a few jokes or playing the dumb blonde. But
like that, we have a lot of we've talked about this, the sexy women. Using their bodies.
There's a lot of comedy in that, but physical, ugly comedy.
Yes. This is like the first one that we've seen this whole season.
Even today, like how many women are allowed to be physically, comedically gross or weird?
And I would argue how many people are allowed to be physically gross, ugly, whatever, and be skinny and pretty.
Yeah.
They normally give that, which is that's just a terrible stereotype. And we don't like that. They give it to
what they would call character actors.
Or women of color and things like that. And it's like, what if we didn't? What if we gave them real roles?
What if we were this people? Like what? Like we are awkward as humans. Like
stop. So having it be what would typically be an ingenue, because Carol Brunett is still a pretty thin, tall, beautiful woman.
Yeah.
So for that picture, that's even more like the step up of like, we are really turning this on its head.
Yeah. I appreciate you, like all of them, for like letting her do it and letting her be physically funny and witty at the same time. Like it just hits so many notes of like, this is 59.
Yes.
This is on Broadway.
Yes.
This is 59.
Like, what? So it's great. I really love that. And continuing on with her, you have her start with Winnifred at first goes from I want a husband and I don't want to be alone, which is playing off of the classic stereotype of the princesses. And if it's so funny, like the old fairy tales and things where they get married very young and they don't want to be alone, you know. Yep. And it's so funny that they make fun of it. Like she has a whole song by herself. Yep. Where she's like, man, everyone got their happily ever after.
I love that random jazz song in the middle of the show.
Yes, and that's cool too. What I love is her I Want song and her big song that she sings, that is explaining her feelings, that she is getting out in her own, which normally is a into the unknown kind of.
Yes.
Like a Wicked, what's Alpha's big song?
Wizard and I?
Not the Wizard and I, the one where
Defying Gravity?
Defying Gravity.
Yeah.
You know, like all these like big, powerful moments where she, like these characters decide, like have all these so much emotion built up that they sing by themselves, and it's these big power ballads or these soft ballads of the golden age and stuff. Because we have lots of those. We had Love in Your Own Way, like all these things. They're all maybe slightly even Cole Porter. It was slightly jazzy ballad.
Yeah.
No, her big dramatic I'm alone in my room having these thoughts and feelings is a wild and crazy jazz number where she's running around the place dancing. Like what? Yes, get it, girl. Like turning all these tropes on their heads, and it's great.
And that's like, it made me smile when I realized it was Rodgers and Hammerstein's daughter. I'm like, oh, you're saying things with this show. But like what I love too is so many of those I want songs are like, oh, poor me, or like, oh, I want this so much. And her whole song's like, this is bullshit.
Yes.
Like, her whole song, like, this is so bullshit. This entire setup.
You like low-key, which is so funny because they purposely like twisted all these things, but you like low-key relate with her.
Oh yeah. Like, they just got help. This is nepotism. This is like these privileged princesses getting like help. Like this is like it's just
it's wild. It's so funny. Like it just is so clever how they took these so many stereotypes and flipped them on their head, and to have her continue where she's also vulnerable because she like straight up is like, if this is a math test, like I'm screwed.
Yeah.
If this is like, she has lots of conversations with Dauntless, and Dauntless too. He is not taken seriously by anyone but his father and Winnifred.
Yeah.
And his father can only do so much because he doesn't treat him as much like a child as his wife does, but he does a little bit. He's still young and he's not sure how to like break things to him as an adult because he's never had to be an adult.
He's been sheltered.
So I get that. Right. I get that. But she's one of the few people who speaks to him on the same level.
Yeah.
Because she herself is a little wild and crazy and lives by her own rules and like, like you're so sweet, you know?
Yeah.
So that's, I think that says a lot about her that she sees this arguably Thomas, sweet, no brains boy who is being treated like an actual toddler.
Yes.
And kind of speaks like a toddler. Like his lines are like that.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
You know? And she like truly grows to like him.
They
like
fall in love.
Like they truly fall in love. And it's like really, really cute.
I'm in love with a girl named Fred. Is one of the cutest little numbers, and she is like running around like crazy during that number. Like
and he does not bat an eye when he's like, and she, she's like, oh, call me by my nickname. And he's like, oh, Winnie. She's like, Fred. And he's like, oh, Fred. What a beautiful name. Like doesn't even like takes a second to be like, oh, and then moves on. Yeah. Like, are you kidding me? That's adorable, and I think that's really sweet that she does that, but that it worked out really well because I do believe that they would fall in love.
Yep.
Would it be the most chaotic kingdom in the world? Absolutely.
Oh, for sure.
I feel like they would get married and stay married.
Yeah,
they would have a blast. They would have a blast. They would probably need advisors to do most of the work, but they would have a blast. You know? So I really enjoyed that. And I think the big kicker at the end of the show is that they didn't need to do anything at all because the end of the show is they, the big, moments revealed where they remove all the schmutz, or in some shows they'll like turn the mattresses and stuff and you see everything just like haphazardly shoved in to like keep her awake. They remove it all, and at the end she needs a good nap because she hasn't slept, and canonically she still can't sleep until Dauntless removes the pee.
Love it.
And
that's good shit.
It's like it would have worked anyway. So it's kind of cool because that's kind of a fun gotcha moment.
It's like fate.
Yeah, it was gonna work anyway. But I'm glad the ridiculousness happened to get there. Yeah. And it really shows how this show is not a deep show at all. When you think of the beginning and why there was the pee in the first place of, okay, no, this show that Lady Aggravain is using this excuse that she needs a purebred, pure blood princess. It's fine. This girl from the swamp climbed the drawbridge and swam the moat.
Oh, it's so good.
Was in fact a pure, like, passed your test.
Yep.
Without realizing the pee was the test, Yeah. Like, I think that's I love that they included that because they did not need to do that.
No,
and they did, and it made it so much better.
It's judging people who judge people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like, oh, you think this person is lowly because of the way they act. Just kidding. She's going to be the new queen.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
I love it. Love
yes,
that.
yes. It's I think it's really well done because the movie adaptation that I want to talk most about is the 2005, and that's like not in the golden age at all. So that will be talked about in After Hours. But Carol Brunett did come back to play Queen Aggravain and was a producer on the show as well. And that show had a female director and choreographer,
Kathleen Marshall.
So you can tell hard that a woman also did that. So I highly recommend just seeing both because like it's so cool to see her come full circle and do that.
Yes.
But I don't know. I think Princess Winnifred the whole show ages well, so I don't think we need to go through each character and see how they age because I think they do.
They're fine.
And what's really cool is Princess Winnifred. I know I mentioned earlier that she is the tall, pretty, skinny, and that mattered for that time period for the golden age, having an ingenue physicality type being wild and silly is groundbreaking. And here, these characters could be anybody.
Anyone can play them, and that's
anyone
so
play
cool.
Anyone. It's like because there's no why not?
It is just a made up character in a fairy tale.
Right. I mean, how the queen and the king don't even like each other. They don't even like each other. The son doesn't even need to look like either of them because it doesn't matter. She just loves her little boy.
Like,
you know, like
the queen coming out and being like, "Oh, we don't like each other." I'm just like,
but
wait,
like immediately, it's like we hate each other. Thank you.
Yeah.
Like, what? So it's just so funny. Like I love that it truly, this show ages so well. It can be done so many different ways. And Princess Winnifred is such a blast. And truly, now at the time of this movie, the musical, it was very common to be a triple threat to sing, dance, act. This was the golden age. Everybody was doing that. I don't think we've talked about anybody besides maybe Gentlemen Prefer Blondes. It isn't like the biggest dance heavy show for the main characters.
It's one of the fewest. Yeah.
But even then the show itself is still very dance heavy.
Yes, very much so.
And all the other shows are all very dance heavy that we've talked about. So like, this was the golden age. They all did that. And that was something that was a testament that the actress who came back to play Winnifred in the 2005 said that they weren't doing that anymore. Yeah. In the early 2000s. And that wasn't very common. You were just getting things like, I'm not sure when the Brandy Cinderella came out on Disney, but I think around that time as well.
I think around that time
this was very new.
Because Disney produced both of these.
Yes. Yeah. So it's like, this is something that she really liked. And so having Princess Winnifred be a not normal princess type really opens it for anyone. As long as you got those comedy chops. Yeah. That's so cool, while also not excluding any other stereotype character.
Well, and what I think is what's sad is this was making fun of the idea of what a princess is in 59. This, I believe, is the same year as Sleeping Beauty coming out. So this is the time period we're in. But doing it in 2005, and if you did it in 2022, you still have this idea of a princess. So Winnifred is still funny, unfortunately, because nothing has really changed about the image. Like, there's been advancements, obviously.
Oh, for sure.
But like, things are still revolutionary when you have a princess that is not elegant and grace and all of those things. So like, she's still very relevant. It's still funny. Awesome. It's still turning things on its head, over 50 years later.
Right. A blast. I would like to just briefly talk about Queen Aggravain and then Lady Larkin, only because I feel like it would be fun to use Lady Larkin as a juxtaposition. And also Queen Aggravain her part's as big as Winnifred's.
It's huge. Yeah.
She's on a lot. She is also one of the only only characters in music theater history to have a full monologue, a giant monologue. There are not many monologues in music theater.
True.
Because if you'd be monologuing, you'd be singing.
Yep.
And Queen Aggravain has a unique circumstance where, because she can talk and her husband can't, she talks so much.
Yep.
She has so many lines, and she has multiple songs.
Oh yeah, it's multiple songs. Part. Yeah,
and has the most words of anybody in the show.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like literally, the stage direction of that monologue is say it as fast as you can.
Yep,
it's the stage direction in the notes of the monologue. It's wild. Like,
well, because she has a song where she does that to the wizard, where she like sensitivity, I think it is, where it's like where she's just like, oh, great idea, and here are all my ideas. So she already has done it in song. So, but they do it again just in like in the like. It's just so cool. She has these huge chunky things and does it in both text and in song. And it's so good.
It's really clever. And diving into her a bit, when you first meet her, she is very much like she is set up as the villain immediately.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, her handing this poor girl, like the opening moment is answer like the middle name of this person who forged the sword, who killed the dragon.
Yeah.
And then like being like, oh darn, like here's your chicken, leave. Like what? And what's so funny is it slowly trickles down. You slowly discover the real issue. Like you don't really get it right away. You slowly learn throughout the entire opening before you meet Winnifred, because there's a couple songs and things of her. Okay, she doesn't want anybody to get married.
Yep.
Until just to make she made this just arbitrary law.
Yeah, like there's no reason for that. She's not like out to get anyone. It's just like
she just made it to be like, darn, like what? Like what? You're wild.
Why? Yeah,
you're supposed to be in control. But also doesn't want her son to get married because she wants the kingdom still.
Yep.
And she can run it all.
Yep.
But also, she loves her boy. She sings the whole song about how great he is. How much she loves him.
No one's good enough for him.
Yeah. She loves him. Her little baby boy. I just about passed away every time the hot cocoa line happens. Like literally, he's like, Dallas is like, no, but like, mom, like, I really want to get married. Like, I don't think he wants us to get married. And she like goes on this big rant about, no, of course I want you to get married. Of course, so that whole thing, which in the movies is cut quite short, is like a page long monologue that she spews at him at like 90 miles an hour, and then finishes with, no, we it's time for your cocoa, like just to like just push him away, and then she has tea, and he is just truly has hot cocoa, like has not even graduated to tea yet, and he is a grown man. Like it's just the comedic timing, how well it's written, how well these are delivered when you have like a powerful, strong, confident woman in that role, which is needed. Like you can't be shy about that. You have to be confident.
You have to own the room, and
Yes, and I'm pretty confident the woman who played Jane White had been on Broadway. Like I think she had done things before. Yeah. I know for sure the person who came up after, who took over for Carol Brunett, was like a well-established actress. Okay, wait. I just looked up Jane White.
Yeah.
Who was Once Upon a Mattress. She is an African-American actress.
What?
Born in New York City.
Opened the acclaimed musical Queen Aggravain. Oh my God.
Yeah.
In 59?
Guys.
Wait a minute.
Wild. I'm more in love with this show.
She has already been in like...
That's wild. Oh yeah, she was in shows.
Yeah, she was in Broadway. Like she's had lots of stuff. For years. She's been in like comedies and now
she's Aggravain.
But that means they had like a biracial family.
Yes.
For the prince. Yeah.
I can't believe I said that earlier and it was real then. Because like I said, like they don't even like each other. It could be anybody. Who cares? Like suspension of disbelief.
They did it then.
And they literally did it in the original show. This is phenomenal.
That makes me so happy.
Love that so much.
That makes me so happy.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Anyway, sorry for that like tangent, but holy crap, that was phenomenal.
Love it.
Well, she's an icon. And obviously she is needed, as we were saying before we jumped in and jumped down that rabbit hole, because holy crap, that's phenomenal. You need to be a strong, not even just comedic, but you just need to be a force to be reckoned with, to be this character, because people need to believe that you are the boss of everyone.
Yep. And when you speak, no one else can.
Yes. And this, once again, written in the 50s. So you need to be a woman doing that in the 50s. So that is not just anybody can come up and be this character. You need to be really grounded. You need to be really strong. So love that for this actress. Oh my God. So I'm still reeling.
And she's in the 64 film one. So she was fantastic in it.
Yeah. Phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They were easily, Carol Brunett and Jane White were easily the best parts of that.
Yeah, for sure.
That movie.
Yeah.
But like, oh my gosh, I still can't get over that. Okay, anyway.
Yeah.
So Queen Aggravain, now we've all had our minds blown. I'm so excited for that.
Yeah.
But we were talking about, she's a strongest woman. And also she has this love with her child.
Yes.
And it's kind of sweet that she does truly love him. And I do like that.
Yeah.
I do like that it is backed up by an entire song.
Yes.
She's not just doing this for the power and the riches. Like she truly
she does love her son.
Love her son.
Mm-hmm.
Does she have some issues with letting go?
Yes.
Perhaps.
As people do.
Yes. She has a hard time realizing her grown child is in fact a grown man. And the way she's like, mommy, like like I said, the Coco line is just so funny. It's because it's real. What's so great about her character specifically is everything she says is backed up.
Oh yeah.
She says ridiculous things and you see it later in the show. And you're like, what? Like, just to make sure that you knew that she is not full of shit. Like, she is absolutely backing everything up. And all of her absurd claims and everything she says is just hysterical. And her going through all these things and having all these grand ideas with her wizard.
Yeah.
To make these wild plans. Yeah, like it's just so funny. And the way she gets more and more frustrated.
Yes.
She's not getting it. It's like I still think she believes she wins. She's just getting mad that she's not winning as fast as she wants to win.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Correct.
Like at no point is she like, oh, I'm not going to win.
No. Yeah. Her plan is genius. They just need to get to it.
Right. She just needs to get to it. Same with how they often play when they're counting down to answer the question.
Yes.
Like in the
5, 4,
movie
3, 2,
where
1.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, like she started really slow and then just like sped to the end, Yep. It's a riot,
Yep.
That is very fun. And like we had mentioned earlier, I am not upset at the end I think it's really great when Dauntless like stands up to his mom.
Yep.
I think it's very needed. Do I believe that Dauntless will still hang out with his mom and have hot cocoa with her and do stuff with her?
Oh, so much
1,000%.
now. I think they're going to be best friends now.
He's going to like her more.
Yeah, 100%.
I don't think that love changed. I think he was just sick of being a child.
Yep.
Or treated like a child, and Winnifred taught him he didn't need to be treated like a child, whether or not that was intentional.
Oh, yeah. He's going to get it like a cup of cocoa and be like, Mom, this is all the stuff I did today. And just like spiel it out.
And she's going to be like really mad for a few months and then get over it because she loves him,
Yep.
It's so funny. And I think that's really, really great. And you're not upset by that when she gets her what for, when the dad finally speaks and the king is like, jump, how high, like these like silly things. You're not mad about it because she's been doing this to everybody this entire show.
It's old school justice, like we're all okay with it. Like it's very fairy tale-esque.
And it's not inappropriate. It's not like the original, Sleeping Beauty, where we put her in hot shoes and made her dance until she died.
Yep.
We didn't do like that kind of dramatic stuff.
Yep.
We just were like, hop and win fun. Ha!
Ha ha!
I like jump. I can tell you what to do now because I can speak and you can't. Like, just silly camp.
Yep. I love it.
And she cracks me up. The way that just everything is validated is too funny to me. Anything else about Lady Aggravain before we do a quick drive-by of Lady Larkin?
I probably in the after hours would discuss my love of the costumes.
Oh yes.
We will discuss.
As a bonus for the 2005 movie, Carol Brunett had her own costume designer for her character. Everyone else had a different person.
Amazing.
It's phenomenal. But learn about that in the after hours.
Yep.
Enjoy that. When that comes out in a million years for you. So wrapping up our traditionally played by females, but like I said, the jester, the minstrel, and the wizard, I think they're all fair game.
Oh yeah.
I don't think there's any reason for any of them to be they're like they don't have real names.
Yeah,
her names are wizard, jester, and minstrel. They're just jobs. Like it's really funny, know. So I think you're fine. But Lady Larkin, who normally would be the ingenue. If this gives you any idea how she is played, she was played by Zooey Deschanel in the 2005, and I think that was a accurate choice.
Spot on.
So in the original, it was Anne Jones. Ooh, something I forgot to mention. I'm gonna backtrack real quick. I'm so sorry. Princess Winnifred. I was very pleased to see and was kind of surprised, but I guess I should have been surprised because she's done silly things. I just forget that she's done silly things. Sarah Jessica Parker.
Yeah.
Was the Broadway revival Princess Winnifred.
Yeah.
And I totally, and at first
she sounds great.
And I'm like, oh, weird. But then I was like, wait a minute. No, she loves doing those occasional wild.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, she's done the Sex and the City for a million years, and that is not the same person at all.
But she did Hocus Pocus.
Yes. And she's done other, like, where she gets to be a little more silly, and she's comfortable.
Yes.
Being silly and big. So I thought that was kind of really fun. Cool. I enjoyed that a lot. How Sarah Jessica Parker is not traditionally a comedian. Yeah. I see why they picked her. Yeah. It took me a minute, but I'm like, oh, I get it.
I bet that was a really great revival.
I bet that was so much fun. I bet that revival was so much fun. I can't. I would bet they would do this again.
Yeah, it's gonna come up at some point. Yeah.
I feel like it aged too well where they're gonna be like, we need something really just
at
fun.
Least off Broadway.
We need something really silly.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah. Because it was revived like fairly recently. Yeah. 1996. I say fairly recently. That's not right.
Yeah, that's a couple decades ago. We're due.
Yeah.
We're due.
Yeah, we're due. We're due for another one. Yeah. Anyway, to finish with Lady Larkin. Yeah. So Lady Larkin, who normally would be ingenue character, and very much is like that. Physically, looks wise, she's the one who gets pregnant in this time where they can't get married. Yep. And their whole dramatic conversation and all their it's so funny. It's so blown up out of proportion on purpose. They're so silly. You're not even supposed to take them seriously. They're like caricatures of ingenue and like leading man. You know, they're both stupid pretty for no reason. Yes. Like just to be silly. It's like, it's all making fun of it. But what I like about her character is she still has agency. She has a fight, gets in a fight with Harry and is going to leave. Yeah. And like, gets thwarted. They find her and then she has to stay, you know, and then she also helps head we got to fix this. Like we got to make sure that Winnifred. Yeah. No one else is going to fix it. That gets married. Like, I need to fix it. So like teams up separately with all the minstrel and not the wizard, but the minstrel, the jester, the king, like everybody separately is like trying to make this work, you know, and I think that's really cool that she is still given agency, regardless of being described as beautiful, whatever. Yeah. And she leaves him too. What I like, the reason she leaves him too is like in the beginning when they're talking, my brain's all over the place. Originally, she's like, I will run away because I don't want to like wreck your honor. I don't want your station here. I'm gonna get married. Like I'm gonna get pregnant, you know. And then you have this silly line that, you know, because it's joking, because they're delivering it in a joking manner. Yeah. They're like, it's fine. Just because you had a moment of
oh my gosh, I love that line.
It's because you had a moment like you lost your whatever. Like I can't remember the exact quote. But like
it's like why should we suffer our lives because you had a moment of weakness?
Yes, yes. Like so funny. So like, and like if that was meant to be said seriously, that would be atrocious. We'd all fired. It'd be canceled. Yeah. Canceled. However, it is not. It is not. It is meant to be a joke. They're both.
It's a full satire.
Hysterical. And so she offers to leave because of that. But then she actually gets mad at him and actually tries to leave. Yeah. When he's like, I can't believe you like almost wrecked our chances with Winnifred because you thought she was a scullery maid. Like, are you kidding me?
Excuse me?
Excuse you? And she's like, it's
yeah.
Yep. Like over, you know, it's kind of a reasonable argument for him to get like really mad at her. Not for him to get mad at her, but for her to be like, I don't have a baby. I offered to do all these things for you. Fine, I will leave and never see you.
You're doing nothing.
I'm doing everything here.
Yep.
So I kind of like that. I kind of liked that it wasn't just frilly. I liked how involved she was. Yeah. Once again, she is in that side character falling in love spot that half of the ladies we talked about this season are in. Yeah. So it would be very easy for her to not be involved with the main plot at all and her just to be the side piece, their little love thing, but it's not. They're still woven heavily into the actual story, which I think is very clever. And speaking of people that we've talked about, we have talked about the side love interests this whole time, right? So many times, which would be like the Lady Larkins. Yes. And we have talked about the leading ladies, which would be the Carol Brunettes. Not really the Carol Brunettes, but like the Winnifred. Carol. We haven't gotten a third. Yeah. Who has almost as much time, if not more time. Yeah. Than the main character.
Yeah, when we talked about even Schrader, she was very minimalized in the
Strader
plot.
has less time than Larkin.
Oh, 100%. Yes.
Yeah.
She's like the only like one of the third characters that we've done. That's like the closest thing I can think of. But she's non-existent. Like as having a solid third character, but is actually the main, like one of the main characters.
Yeah. Like these are all these three women are in it quite a lot.
Yeah.
And all have their own things going on. While also being tied to the plot. They're not just there. Like I would argue, as much as we love how silly and fun and Kiss Me Kate, the secondary little love interest and everything.
Yeah.
Like, so fun. If you removed her from the plot, nothing would change.
They're like the miscommunication for like the flowers would just be a different actor. Like, you know, like it wouldn't. It's not like
the only reason he needs to stay is because the boyfriend is the reason that they're going after them in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you took out any of these, if you took out Larkin, things would be missing.
Yeah.
They would have to give it to other characters. But if you like at face value pulled things out, there'd be a much larger hole.
Yeah. And like
and for Lady Larkin and the others.
They're intertwined enough to make them all like the women were never cut from the adaptations.
Never. The women were never cut. If
but
anything,
the men were.
The women were given more.
Yeah.
They sometimes, because there's a lot of minstrel songs that like, I understand cutting bits of the minstrel because the minstrel is telling a story.
Yeah.
They are a narrator. Do you need a narrator in the show? Not really.
Especially for a TV adaptation. Like I like the narrative in the stage. Like,
right. But it's, you can see it when you're on film and everything. So it makes sense that that's cut a lot. Yeah. But even then, they can't part with all the songs sometimes. So they give them to other people.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
You know?
Well, and that's like they cut in the 64 television, they cut Harry. They cut
entirely.
The minstrel was just with Larkin. Like, okay.
Yeah.
Just cut him right out.
Yeah. They like combined them together, but called him the minstrel. Yeah. So it's like, it's so, I mean, you're right. They don't cut any of the women. At all. Whereas you were saying, even with Sound of Music, they would cut Schroeder's songs. And stuff, you know, and it's like, they wouldn't do that. In fact, they give them more songs sometimes.
Yeah.
It's very ahead of its time. And once again, I know I've said this like 7 times. I don't know if this was intentional. I don't know how much of this was intentional. But it was very ahead of its time. I think it's still a blast to watch. It's still so funny. Even in its original, the old black and white movies are still very funny.
Well, when did Cinderella by Rodgers and Hammerstein came out before this, I believe? 57 film. Yeah,
so this came out as I assume they were writing this one.
So the musical version of the TV one, the adaptation, was 57. So probably a couple of years before it premiered. So Richard Rodgers' daughter wrote a princess that is Winnifred when her dad wrote Cinderella.
Amazing.
So there has to be she makes fun of Cinderella in the musical. Like there has to be some acceptance and joke.
Oh, for sure. There's no way.
There has to be some reason and some choice in that.
Yeah. It's cracks me up. I think it's a great show. I think it's super fun.
It's a good comedy study. Like it's not great, like in-depth character work, but you also have to be able to do the jokes, you know?
Right. And even then, like I said, it may not be super crazy in-depth character work, but we have talked more about these women than we've talked about almost anybody outside of The Sound of Music. This entire season, and we haven't had to do anything like to fill the time. It has been organic and natural, and I'm sure if we kept going, we would find more fun things to be like, wait, this part of the show made this great. I mean, like we didn't even really dive into the song where she is talking about her home, and it's initiated by her and a bunch of women. Like the girls are all asking about it. And also how absurd you have to play off of when she is the physicality you need to be for Winnifred to be able to do an entire scene wherein your scene partner is 20 beds below you and in a cage. And cannot speak. And just tweets at you like a bird. Like she has they have an entire scene
The counting sheep,
like that. It's a riot. Like there's so many parts and things to this show that is not only fun for the actors and the actresses, but fun for the costume designer, the set, the props. Like how fun, because the stakes are so low. Like it's just camp. It can be as silly and as cheap looking as possible, or it can be wildly expensive and it's still going to be a blast to see.
Well, that's why it's so like great to put on, because you can literally like any fairy tale costume in storage can be put into the show and it's okay.
Yes.
Like they don't have to match. They don't have to
no.
Obviously like it was stunning when everyone was in orange and mustard yellow and red. And then you have the queen in green. Like that was stunning. But like, but a high school can just put on some old prom dresses
and call it a day
and be done. Like it's such a fun, the camp and the comedy is purely like the dialogue and the physicality. It's not like about the set. Like you still have to find like 20-year mattresses. Like that's still like, or like foam pieces, you know, you gotta stack that up
to make it look
big. You know, you can fake it.
Yeah, ours was not. We only had, I think, 2 actual mattresses. The rest was a giant platform.
Nice. Yep.
That we put it on the outside to make it look. So then there was ways that we could stick in the schmutz on the side.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know, there's just like so much to do. And when this show is led by so many very strong and very different women in this time period.
Yeah.
Like these are all women that we have not seen yet.
Yeah.
Whereas if we talk about the previous shows, arguably some of those characters, those actors could play the other characters very easily, could slip into those other roles, and it would be a pretty simple switch. Whereas how many could go from those true leading lady ingenue roles into Carol Brunett's shoes? I would argue not many. I don't know how many of them would be able to do it.
Yeah. Like I love Dame Julie Andrews, but I don't think she could be as wacky. Hard. It'd be like she's witty, funny. You know? Like
I think she'd make a solid Queen Aggravain.
Oh, she'd be fantastic.
I think she'd be great because she'd be able to spout that really fast. She'd be able to be really grounded and really strong.
Yeah.
But and she's physical, but
I
don't think she can be quite as goofy. She'd be the closest though, I would argue, of the group.
Yeah. I would definitely say that. Yeah, I'd love to see her as the queen.
Yeah, she'd be fun as the queen.
Yeah, we can dream. We can dreamcast it.
Yes. Oh, this show, I really like seeing the diversity in types of women. Also the surprise diversity in the show.
Surprise diversity.
Matt talked about more. Oh my gosh.
Love it. That's amazing.
I don't know. And I can't wait to talk about this in After Hours because we have so much more to talk about because obviously there's many
we got to talk about all the guys, all the like.
Oh my gosh. The movie, one of the movies. This has been a blast. I'm really glad we did this one.
After the 2 heavy ones. Episodes, it's nice to
we needed something fun and silly that like didn't mean a lot, but is a blast.
Yes.
You can find the 2005 version on many different sources. You do have to pay for it, but you can find it everywhere. You can find the original on YouTube. You can find the old ones on YouTube.
Yeah, the 64, which is like half, I think it's like half the length of the actual show, or like a little over that. But it's like, they do a really good job. It's a fun, seeing Carol Brunett do it, like is worth it. So
so I highly recommend watching them, suggesting any of your local theaters should do it.
Please do.
I'd love to do this. It's a fun time. It's a fun time. So, and I really love the different use of women in this show and the different type of women, and that it really showcases things. They all have agency and they all have some sort of depth to them. None of them learn anything.
No, they don't change. They are exactly who they are, you know, which is great too.
But no, they're great. So thank you for coming along on this wild and wacky fairy tale.
Thanks everybody.
See you in the after hours.
Yes.
Bye. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Damsels in Dialogue. Next week, we travel back to the late 1920s Hollywood and into a giant cake for Debbie Reynolds' breakout role in Singing in the Rain.
If you enjoyed what you heard today, you can help us reach even more listeners by subscribing to the podcast and leaving a rating or comment on Apple, Spotify, Google, or wherever you are listening.
If you want to join us for even more discussions and opinions about Once Upon a Mattress or any of our episodes, head over to our Patreon. There you can support the podcast and unlock an entire library of exclusive after-hour video podcasts, with a new one arriving each month. You can also unlock research notes, bloopers, and more.
Follow us on social media and at our website on damselsindialogue.podbean.com. Until next time, this has been Damsels in Dialogue.
Have a nice day.
This podcast episode is sponsored by Royal Princess Parties, LLC, and is produced by Hello Out There Audio, part of Hello Out There Productions.